Welcome to another episode of the Tower 26P Race Trade Podcast. I'm Joe Mitzke here once again. Coach Gerry Rodriguez. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? Good to be back.
I am outstanding. Just getting going here. If you listen to this podcast, we're going to drop 8 seconds off your 100 time just by listening to this podcast.
I like that.
Yeah.
No swimming, just listening.
Just listen.
Just listen, and you get 8 seconds.
Take it all in.
8 seconds better per 100.
Yeah. Just by listening, just by doing what we say, you're taking that time off your 100.
That's a big promise.
Yeah.
That's a big promise.
I learned from the best. I read this article in Triathlete magazine that if you go to this pool school for 2 days, you're going to drop 6 seconds off your time. If you're 1 minute 20 second 100 meter swimmer, you go to a 2-day seminar with pool school for TriDot, you drop 6 seconds. What do you think? 6 seconds. Is that doable?
I did not. I should have read the article. I saw the article, and in fact, I started skimming it. We should have talked about this before, and talk more about it. I started skimming it, and I saw that I think they had like some ranges of times, and if you're this particular time, you lose so many seconds. And I stopped reading it immediately. And I usually don't read. I skim, right?
Yeah.
And so in the skimming portion, I saw that if you were 120, and I think it was meters per 100 meters, so that's close to 110 per 100 yards, 110, 112 per 100 yards, you were going to drop whatever it was, 5 or 6 or 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this 43 years. I don't think that's possible, so I stopped reading it.
But here's the thing.
I don't think it's possible. I think it's highly unlikely somebody of that ability level in 2 days, unless they haven't done anything for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And also, okay, so maybe you can concentrate for a 100 after 2 days, but are you able to repeat that speed? What is it doing one after another, after another, after another?
Well, did you read, what was the essence of the story?
Essence
was... Why were we even starting on this?
I don't know. It was just on my mind when we got into it, and, why not? Where are we going to start? Here's the thing. This is the point I want to make. There's no quick fix. There's there's nothing that you can do and pay a certain amount of money and make this drastic improvement. There's no magic pill that you can take to make this drastic improvement. So
here's a magic pill.
Why are you going to buy into that?
Here's a magic pill. I was talking to an athlete that started with us last week. Her name is Gina Brown.
Yeah.
LA Tri Club member, right?
Yep.
Terrific athlete, really good runner, outstanding athlete. In fact, coached by Brittany, who you've met.
Yeah, I know Brittany. She swam for us for a while, right?
Yeah, so I'm on a subscription program for a number of years. And Gina is in her mid-50s, and she's been doing triathlons for I think she started when she was almost a teenager, so she's been in and around the sport, took some time off, but outstanding runner. And she swam, I think, 40 minutes and change at Oceanside for 70.3 swim. But this girl runs. She's got wheels, okay? It's like you.
Yeah.
But her swim wasn't good.
Wheels.
And so she was asking. And I said, Gina, it's going to take a year or two.
Yeah.
1 to 2 years. Not 1 to 2 days. It's going to take 1 to 2 years. So here's what I need, Jim. I need to read that article.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously some magic sauce in that I don't know after 43 years of coaching that I haven't learned. Because if I can make Gina 6 seconds per 100 faster, well, she's not a 120 pace. So let's say she's 140 pace.
So that means, so I have it written down here. So if you're a 120 to 139 per 100 meter swimmer, it claims you're going to make an 8 second improvement in 2 days in your 100 meter time.
I guess I need to go to that pool school.
Well, here's the thing. So
thousands of athletes later in coaching, that's a big promise.
So they say, okay, all they do is hone in on a few aspects of your stroke.
Good.
They call it fast, fingers flat, right? So that's our alignment. You enter straight out from the shoulder, your fingers flat. Your arms stretched straight out. That's our alignment also. That's what we talk about, right?
Right.
Your spine straight. So I guess that'd be tautness and alignment.
Yes.
Your shoulders and your hips at 45 degrees. That sounds familiar. Shoulders and hips, I guess, rotate to 45 degrees. And then your thumb on your thigh. So you're finishing your stroke.
Right.
So that's the thing that they hone in on every single length. They stop you. They say, do this, do this, do this. I don't know who the coaches are.
I like it.
But they're doing these 5 focus points every single length.
I like it.
But after 2 days, I guess if you focus on those, you can improve your 100 time if you're focused on those 5 points. But is it going to take 6 seconds off your 1 minute 20 meter pace?
Well, I think we could peel this.
There's a lot.
There's a lot to peel. I mean, it's like, okay, who wrote the article?
Tim Henning.
Oh, sure, I know that.
And I want to ask him. I want to talk to Tim and say, Tim, did TriDot pay you? Because TriDot's throwing a lot of money around. Right? There's a big marketing budget, I assume, with the people they're bringing on board. So is this a marketing piece that TriDot said, hey, write an article on this?
TriDot's a good organization, and I don't know Tim. Excuse me, I don't know Tim, but he must have some value found, which is why he wrote this. Those are big numbers to drop per 100. So said differently, if somebody dropped 6 to 8 seconds per 100 and he did a 1,000, that's a 1 minute to 1.5 minute.
Well, we talked about this on the team call yesterday. Lucy Charles Barkley, she's what is she, 100 meter? 110 repeat? 110 on race day. So if she goes to pool school,
yeah.
And she's making a 6 second improvement. All of a sudden, it goes 110 to 104.
No, she can't. She can't do that. Well, I'm sure there's a certain level of athlete that's coming in that there may be some more. I'll read the article.
So here's
how about I read the article?
This is what pissed me off the most about the article.
I guess this really got to you.
I'll tell you what. At the end, Tim Hemming, and let's remember, we have Chris Foster. He swam for us. Emma Kate swam for us. They're with Triathlete. Are they still with Triathlete Magazine? These guys?
Chris is Emma Kate. No.
So they were with Triathlete Magazine. We have history with Triathlete Magazine. Jerry, at the end of the article, they say other places you can go for swim improvement. Right. This is at the end. Right. I guess he just wanted to make sure that it didn't look like he was so one-sided.
Right.
I'm scrolling here. I'm scrolling through my screenshots. But how does it stack up with other schools? We got Swim Smooth. We got the Race Club. We got Effortless Swimming. Bunch of different swim. Who's left out? Tower 26, the number one name in triathlon swimming, left out of the final little chapter of where else you can go for triathlon swimming success.
Well, who are the names in there, you said?
We have Effortless Swimming.
Brenton does a great job.
Brenton's great. He's been on the podcast before. Yep. We have Paul Newsom. Who's Paul? Paul Newsom.
We had Paul on
Swim
before.
Smooth
Yep,
is on there.
Paul on. Yeah, good guy.
We had the Race Club. The Race Club. Gerry Hall, but that's
Gerry
swimmers.
Hall, but that's
straight up swimmers.
Swimmers, yeah.
Yeah, and not Tower 26. Left out of it.
Interesting. Well, maybe because we don't have public clinics. I'm not sure how he
could be.
I want to be kind to Tim, but at the same time, since I didn't read the article, it's hard for me to comment too much. But 6 to 8 seconds per 100 at 120, 100 meter pace, that's highly unusual.
Yeah, very, very. Well, I just want to bring that up.
But I'll say congratulations to whoever coaches are able to do that. TriDot.
Well, we were,
Maybe I could learn something.
Yeah, maybe. Doing years of doing this, maybe we can figure something out.
I need that. I need a 6 second improvement.
Believe me, if I get 6 seconds, I've been sitting at this pace for, that's the thing. As we get stronger and stronger, sure, that 2 minute swimmer, I believe it. I'm sure they can make a pretty big improvement.
Yeah.
But as you whittle that delta down, those seconds, those hundredths of seconds become harder and harder to come by.
Here's the deal, Jim.
Maybe we should go. You pay $600 for me to go. Let's see what happens.
It takes a while. I'm thinking of Bob. Bob that swims with us. Bob's probably in his early 60s, and he started last year, and he was a 105 per 50-yard swimmer. 105 per 50 yards. And last week, about a week and a half ago, actually, 1 to 2 weeks ago, I should say, he broke a minute for a 75.
Wow.
Okay, so he went we had 58 or 59 seconds for a 75 in workout. But that took a little over a year.
Yeah.
So that's a big improvement, right?
Yeah.
Big delta, big margin.
Huge, yeah.
But it took a long time. So I'm not that good of a coach that can take 6 seconds off of somebody in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, that's that. But hey, let's move on to the next thing. Let's move on to what's next.
I guess I got to retire from the podcast.
Yeah, I think you should retire from everything. Go sell insurance or something. I'd be good at that. But what did we talk about last episode? Let's get into that.
hey, it was my first time. I interviewed you on transitions.
I got a lot of feedback from the last episode. That was an awesome episode. I learned a lot during that. It really hit home. So thank you for that interview.
I actually learned a lot myself because I had never dissected your transitions. And we didn't rehearse any of that. It was we were just ad-libbing, and I was asking, and I was thinking through as you were going through. Okay, what about this? What about that? And I learned a few steps. I didn't realize you sat down in your transitions.
Oh yeah, get down. Well, like I said, you sit down and put your shoes on and your socks and shoes on in the day. You don't stand up, but you try and stand up and put your socks on right now. That's where you blow that lower back out, right?
Right. And again, you have to always think of the audience that you're talking to. If it's ITU athletes, they're going to be standing up. They're not going to sit down. So they all stand up because their transitions are different.
And there are also a lot of them aren't putting on socks. They're just slipping their shoes on and going, right?
Yeah.
So you're putting on socks.
But for our audience, what you do, you've always had you can go back to almost every race you've done, and you have one of the top 10 fastest transitions of everybody, not just pros, amateurs too. Yeah. I mean, the whole field. So.
So
and you're a big dude. It takes a while to put those socks on. Those are big feet to put over.
Big feet, say about big feet, big shoes.
Yeah.
But so what are we going to talk about in this one? What are we going to touch on here?
I think we got a number of things you can go over. We're in transition phase.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to move in. We're going to talk about where we're transitioning from our foundation phase into the sharpening phase, and then I want to get into this. I want to touch on something that, with your years of experience, how you have approached certain professional athletes, professional triathletes who've come to you, and the list is pages long, right? How you've approached a few of the individual athletes, and what you had to do with those athletes to get them to the next level, which they've done. So I want to touch on a few of those. So let's talk about the transition from the foundation to the sharpening phase, and then get into a little bit of historical approach to certain athletes.
Right. So we are, we bridged out last week from our foundation phase, base building phase, aerobic phase, conditioning phase. I mean, there are all these words, right, that coaches have for sort of the season opening phase. Now, remember, our season opening phase is actually our recovery phase, right? That's how we start our season, with recovery on mechanics, and we spend approximately 10 weeks or more in that phase. And then we roll in at the beginning of the year-ish, around the 10th of the month of January or so, and folks are back from vacations. And we start let's call our training phase. Coach Jack likes to call it the, what's the word? Capacity building phase. It's a wonderful word. It's sort of all-encompassing. So we've wrapped up 4 3-week cycles of that, 12 weeks. And then now we go into, in traditional athletic terms, this would be called the taper phase, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's not a word that I particularly care for, in the sense of when you think of swimming, when we teach swimming, Jim, there are words that are indigenous to swimming, such as the catch, right?
Yep.
Which is a word that I don't like, because to me, because sometimes I'm too literal, when I think of the word catch, I think of catching a ball, and I don't think of anything else. So for some folks that are not indigenous to a sport or an activity, the word catch would be taken as its literal sense. So I don't like to use words that are indigenous to a sport when we're teaching folks who don't have a foundation in it.
Yeah.
So the word taper, if you just took that word on its own and you looked it up, taper means the slimming of, the slendering down, the cutting back, the reduction, right?
Yep.
And when we go through tapering, like we're doing in this particular phase, what we're really doing is getting folks ready to redo their 1K on their 100 time trial. So we're going to map progress over the last 12 weeks of preparation. So there's still, and they have races to do. There's Ironman, half Ironman Texas this weekend, right? There's races coming up.
St. George coming up. I mean, we got a ton.
We've got a lot of events coming up.
Every weekend there's something on the docket.
So we have to keep all of this in consideration. So I like the word sharpening rather than tapering. And because the volume is still there. There's still intensity. There's still load related. Yeah. But we sharpen up certain segments within all of our workouts. We're sharpening up the athlete to perform we tune them to perform better at a 1K and a 100. So there's a little bit more power training built in for a short rep, because we're going to redo a 100 time trial, right?
Yep.
So maybe we'll get 6 seconds for some people here.
I would hope.
But
I
it
mean,
took us 12 weeks. We're not very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we went through the technique, the foundation, now the sharpening, and we can't go 6 seconds, retire.
Jesus, I got to go work
Take
for
it away.
Tripool or whatever they're called.
TriDot, there you go.
Yeah.
Or at least write for Triathlete Magazine. Which
So-
we're going to get to also. We're going to talk about that too. I'm going to grill you on something.
Okay. So, so over the next several weeks, this is our shortest phase, in the last 4 to 6 weeks or so, and we're sharpening up, getting athletes prepared to redo a 100-time trial and their 1K. So we call it our sharpening phase. Emphasis will be on consistent pacing for your 1K. Are you able to hold a pace and maintain that 90%-ish of maximum heart rate, right? Because you're going to be waffling on your anaerobic line. So sitting there and being able to hold consistent pace, be able to hold good stroke mechanics. So we work on a lot of technique at higher end performance, higher upper aerobic end performance, and then we work on a lot of power. So we're sharpening up. We're getting the athlete ready physically and also mentally to perform well in 4 to 6 weeks. So we call it the sharpening phase, and that's what we're into.
And by getting into this phase of training, and I just listened to the podcast, the On Coaching podcast with Steve Magnus and John. They're great. I mean, these two guys. But they put it in terms of, it's all about running, but they talk about our technical phase, our foundation phases. That's all the preparation phase. And then once they get into the sharpening or the race ready phase is what we like to call it. Then you've done all this preparation work. You can get to this phase of training and hold that 1,000 time because you've done all the back work, right? You have the foundation and the fitness and the strength to go out there and maintain and execute these longer efforts. Now in the sharpening, we're working on holding that pacing. We're working on holding our percentage effort. But if you had skipped the technical phase, you skip the foundation phase, and you just go right in the sharpening phase, that's where that performance starts here and just drops right off. That's why, all kidding aside, you go to a 2-day school, sure, you can work on your technique, but you're not going to be able to get all that preparation, get all that foundation, all that technique work that's going to lead to that consistent pacing that we're working on in this sharpening phase.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. So we
can't skip. You can't skip steps of the process. You gotta work the technical phase. You got to work the foundation phase. You get in the sharpening phase. You got to dial into the efforts. And one thing you're going to talk about soon is the tempo trainer, I'm sure. And we got to utilize these tools not as a crutch, but as a tool to improve our performance.
Correct. So in this particular phase, in fact, we'll talk about this in our workout of the episode. There are some tools that we utilize more heavily, such as the buoy. We use that buoy consistently throughout the year, but this is when we start weighting the chambers. We add water to both chambers, so it gets heavy.
Hey, I got a prop.
You got the buoy? Perfect.
Buoy,
yep.
Right
Eni
there.
Jones, former super elite swimmer, national, exactly. And so you open those up, you take the caps off, you fill it with water, and this makes it very challenging to swim.
It's like a cinder block between your legs.
Technique starts falling apart, and so we work on the technical aspect of, okay, when you have a heavy load on you, what do you need to think about and do? So we swim with the buoy, and then the tempo trainer. I should have brought mine. I talk about a prop.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably have one over there in the junk pile. But
so I want to go through. Do we have time to go through a little tempo trainer
let's
chat?
talk about it. Talk about the tempo trainer. But some might never heard of tempo trainer. They say I don't believe in using that. So we can talk about it. Let's make sure that I'm going to make sure that we hone in on. Let's talk about it.
So it's a what do you want to call it? A metronome that it helps you beat. Yeah, puts off a sound, a tone. And you match that tone with your arm stroke. Now, and there are different modes to it, but the mode that we use, which we'll get into, we use a mode that has the tone beeps. And you want to be able to match your stroke to that tone, and it helps create consistency. So let's make up a number. Let's say your stroke rate, your natural rate, and by the way, there's no right or wrong rate. There's your rate. So your cadence rate is 60 strokes a minute. You would set it at 60, and you'll hear the beep, 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 right. One beep every second.
Using it enough, you hear that beep in your sleep.
It's crazy, right? And so you would wear this under your swim cap, and it'll help you maintain consistency in stroke cadence.
Yeah.
And it's used for a number of reasons. In fact, when you want to sharpen up and swim a fast 100, you just like in running and in cycling, you got to have a higher tempo, right? You do your bike workouts where you have cadences going up to 120, right?
Yeah. Oh,
at
yeah.
times. But no one rides at 120 in a race.
Right.
But you have to do some training at that. So we do some of that in our swim sessions, but it's hard to do. So it's helpful having this, metronome, and you can listen to the beat and try to keep up with it. So it's a little teaser. It's a little carrot
Where
out
does
there.
the beep happen? Does it, as it beeps, do you pull? How do you time it?
Good question. You can choose it. You can time it right when your hand's entering or when your hand's exiting.
Yeah.
Once it's consistent.
Now I can put it up to 120 beats and I can keep up with it, but is that the best thing to do? I'm leading you with questions.
I know.
But I can keep up with it. But you don't want to match your stroke to the beep. You want to match your beep to your stroke.
So you have to earn the right to have higher cadence rates. Meaning, yes, you might be able to. Maybe.
Yeah.
I doubt it. But
Right.
a non-athletic.
Yeah.
A non-swimmer, and what I mean by let's define it, somebody who does some of the collegiate level or national level swimmer, it would be very difficult to swim at 120 strokes a minute. Okay, that is elite, world-class level cadence. So let's just say even 100 strokes a minute for you. Who didn't have you have a hockey background. You had a running background. You're not a
It's
swimmer.
hard to get these meat hooks around.
I mean,
that's
a lot of luggage, man.
A lot of weight there, baby. Luggage.
Luggage is packed.
I like that. Yeah.
So if we put you at 100 strokes a minute, you'll do it, but there'll be an inefficiency to it. So your performance will likely deteriorate. So we want to make sure that there's not much of a performance deterioration while coaxing along increases in cadence rate. So
Right.
because some athletes or many athletes actually need increases in cadence rate, but there's a way to do it over a period of time. Given that we just want this for a very, very short distance, we will coax it along quicker during this particular phase because we want to get that stroke rate up because it's only a minute in duration, right? A minute to 2 minutes for folks doing, the 100 freestyle redo.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You got to think about the weight of water, right? Water is heavy. Pick up a bucket of water. It's heavy. Sure, I can spin my arms at 100, but if I'm not grabbing that water and pulling it back with every stroke, I'm going to be going nowhere. You got to remember that you got to grab that water, feel the water, pull the weight of that water from front to back, and that's going to slow your stroke down, right? But the stronger you get, the more you adapt to the stress of the water,
that's
the
where you're
quicker
going.
you can move your arms.
You have to be able to, you get stronger, and then you're able to increase cadence, and as it gets stronger again, you could increase cadence again. So it's just sort of stepping stone. It's no different, Jim, I think we talked about this in one of the episodes. If you just worked and did swim drills, you become a good driller. You don't become a good swimmer. You become a good driller. So you increase technical aptitude, and then you have to put training load on. And then when your training load catches up to that technical aptitude, only then you can increase technical aptitude again. And then you load it.
Yeah.
If you did all this technical aptitude without load, training load, intensity, volume, and so on, you don't actually improve too much.
Yeah.
So it's a stepping stone of how you improve technique, train, improve technique, train. It's a dance, hand in hand, right? It's not all of one or all of the other.
Right.
And in swimming, as you know, if you just went and trained with no technique, well, that's a great formula for, you'd have to send you to pool school.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like you gotta apply all the focused technical work. You have to apply that to real world. Then revisit the technical work, apply to real world, and I like that. I like that bouncing back and forth analogy.
So let's go back to the tempo trainer. It's a little device made by Finis, wonderful company's been around in swimming for John mixed maybe 30 something years now, and a little small device, yellow. And it has 3 buttons on it, a top button and then 2 lower buttons. The top button is a button you want to the bottom right button turns on the tempo trainer. So you guys that have purchased one, if you haven't, you should get one. You hit the lower right button, that turns it on. And then the top button is where you toggle between the modes. There are 3 modes. We use mode 3. So you just hold the button down, it'll carry you through the modes, and then you get to mode 3. The default on mode 3, once it comes on, is 10 beeps per minute, and you don't want that because that's very, very
you would not be
very
10
low.
Beats, beat every beat every
right
6 seconds.
Yeah.
It would be. I'm not a mathematician, but I think that's the right number.
So we would we have certain recommendations to plug it into based on your level. Right, and we tell our athletes if you're a level 4, we have them in the 50s. If you're a level 3, we have them in the lower 60s. You're a level 2, upper 60s. Level 1, it's 72 to 80 strokes a minute. So level 1 being your more seasoned athletes and so on. So that's, and you'll notice that, the more seasoned an athlete, Jim, the higher their cadence is, right? You see this, and you probably watched yesterday was the, 2 days ago was the Boston Marathon, right? Well, everyone that's in the winning pack, all those guys running under 220, 230, all the women running under 240, they're 180 to 200 steps a minute, right?
Yeah.
It's high cadence. Doesn't look like it because they're so elegant. But their cadence, and it's the same in swimming. You look at good swimmers, their cadence rates are high, but it's deceiving because they're graceful. All right, there's just it's beautiful to watch really good athletes do their thing, but it is deceiving, visually deceiving how high their cadence rates are. So elite swimmers in events that are typically 4 minutes and longer, you will see cadence rates of 80 strokes a minute. And some will even get up to 90 or 100 strokes a minute towards the end of the race. In shorter races, 2 minutes and shorter, you'll be seeing cadence rates of 100 to 130 strokes a minute.
Yeah.
Okay? In the triathlete world, we're not going to have cadences that high because the swim is not 1 minute or 2 minutes long. So we're going to have lower cadences, but we want to be able to still develop cadence. So anyway, you hit the lower right button, and that moves the number up for you from the default of 10. And let's say let's use an example. You're 1 minute and 45 seconds per 100 yard. We might just put you at 60. Right?
Yeah,
60,
good middle ground,
a good middle ground of 60 beats per minute. That is 1 stroke per second. Right arm goes 1 second. Left arm goes 2 seconds. Right arm 3 seconds. Left arm 4 seconds. So 1 single arm stroke per second. And we start off, and I think it's really important to try to define, as you know, Jim, try to define and learn what is your cadence rate. So the first thing you would do, there are 2 things you can do. Here's a little plug for Form Goggle. You can buy a Form Goggle, which I use religiously now. I just covered my 1 millionth.
It's not on Form, it didn't happen.
1 millionth yard.
1 million, wow.
About a month ago. So Form lets you know what it is. Another alternative is you put the tempo trainer into your swim cap. You swim at, say, 80% effort, right?
Not too hard, not too easy.
Not too hard, not too easy, but aerobically a bit challenged, but you're not pressing too much. You do a short distance, like a 50 yards or 50 meters, and you set it at 60. You put the number 60. This is for a person that's about 1 minute and 45 seconds per 100 yards. You set it at 60. And you don't try to match the beep. You are swimming your normal cadence, your normal 80% effort, and you're listening and you're thinking, following along. Is the beep ahead of my cadence, or is it below my cadence? Okay? You're not changing your cadence. You're leaving your cadence as is, and you're identifying, where's the beep? Is it faster than, or is it slower than? And if the beep is faster than, then when you finish your 50, you take your swim cap off, you pull out the tempo trainer, and you adjust it downward. So what we're trying to do is to get the tempo trainer to match your cadence.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you can also count strokes, right? If you go from one end of the pool to the other, and you know that you're 20 strokes usually, and all of a sudden you're 24 strokes, you're trying to match the beep. You got to slow that beep down.
Yep, exactly.
You're getting inefficient, you spin the arms a little too quick.
Exactly. So you swim at your regular thing, and then let the tempo trainer help you identify what your cadence rate is. So you're going to have to toggle up and down with those buttons at the bottom. The right button toggles up, the left button toggles downward. Put it back in your swim cap, you swim another 50 again, and you make the adjustments. It takes maybe a half a dozen 50s at the most to nail this down, right?
Yeah.
Once you get this down, you know, okay, my number was 63. Okay, you ended up making some adjustments. You're 63 strokes a minute. That is your 80%. Well, one of the things you can do with the tempo trainer, such as we did this morning, we're getting ready for that 1K. Okay?
Yeah.
So we did a series of 100s at 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate, trying to be consistent in pacing. So let's say this 1 minute and 45 second per 100 swimmer. You'd want to swim 145, 145, 145 in every single rep. Short rest in between, 10 to 15 seconds. But let's see if we can match and hold that 63 cadence rate throughout. Because as we know, a couple of things happen when fatigue starts setting in. Cadence rates do one or two things. They usually don't do, there's one that it usually doesn't do. They either go higher, meaning you start spinning the arms more, or they go lower because of fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay? Very few people stay consistent. So either going higher or going lower. And what we're really trying to do is maintain consistency, right?
Yep.
So there's one value, for instance, of using a tempo trainer. It will help you stay on tempo.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, watching from the deck, you do a set of 15 100s. You know, by that last 5 by 100, there's a lot of inefficiency happening. So if you can dial into what that cadence should be and know that, hey, if I'm at this cadence, I'm as efficient as I can be at this number, it's just going to keep you honest and not let you get ahead of yourself with that arm turnover.
And then for those, like we have some athletes this morning, they are somewhat inefficient, right?
Yep.
Where their cadence rates are too high. So what we do is we lower, let's say they were 63 as an example, and at 63 happens to be too high for that person. And that's not a realistic number. There are some athletes that were in the upper 70s that belong really in the mid 60s. Their cadence is too high. They're too inefficient. They're not doing proper mechanics beneath the surface, right? Mm-hmm. So we lower their beep down, have them match the beep cadence, okay, their cadence to match the beep. And what you will find is then that and you brought it up a minute ago, their number of strokes to cover the distance goes down. Mm-hmm. They become more efficient as you reduce their cadence. So they had a higher rate of inefficiency at their innate cadence. So this is where coaching comes in, right? This is where, the 40-something years of coaching comes in. Although I still can't get somebody to improve 6 seconds in 2 days. But
2 days, 40 years. I mean.
So you have to know, you have to have some seasoning to be able to help an athlete as to if their cadence is too high or too low. But point is, we introduce tempo trainers during this particular phase of the season, especially as it relates to two things. One, trying to maintain a consistent tempo once we've identified the right tempo in redoing their 1K performance, and then achieving a higher tempo, which we will tease that over the next several weeks. We'll tease that tempo, increase in tempo over the next several weeks so they can have higher cadence rates when we redo the 100.
And this is a key tool for triathletes in particular, because we bike, our feet go faster. We're typically going to go faster. We run, our feet go faster. We're going to go faster. We swim, our arms go faster. We're not going to go faster, right? It's all about efficiency, how much water you're pulling front to back. So it keeps us on point without just spinning those arms and thinking, oh, I'm moving my arms faster, I must be going faster.
I am going to share something that you're not going to believe.
Oh, no. I believe a lot of things.
About maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I was coaching a workout at our Pally pool that unfortunately is out of service because of the Palisades fires. And something caught my eye that was totally awkward. I wasn't paying, I'm paying attention, you know me, I'm honed into our group, but something caught my eye off to the side. And I looked across and there was a guy swimming, okay? And I had never seen anything like this before. So I decided to count his arm strokes, okay? Mm-hmm. Jim, this is not an exaggeration.
25-yard pool.
25-yard pool. Are you ready? 103 strokes.
No way. The 103 for 25 yards?
103 strokes.
We got to get that guy on the podcast. I want to talk to him.
Now, I am sure with that guy, I could get 6 seconds.
Yeah, I think just
103
blink your eyes,
strokes.
you get 6 seconds. Jeez, wow.
So there's some obvious fixes with people when you see, you have to see what their mechanics are like to be able to help them decide if
How'd you even see his arms? It's like whirling around like a helicopter.
Well, it was the funniest thing in the world. That's what caught my eye. It was just wild.
I'm surprised he didn't start taking off, going straight up.
It was just craziness.
Yeah.
Wide arms, and they were just sort of, it's like a turtle almost. Just it was. The word to use is it was cute.
It's cute, yeah. Something to. He was just making an example as what not to do to show our swimmers. I hope you pulled everybody out and you said, you know what, watch this guy. Do not do this. This is not the way you want to. That's what I do. I bring people out of the pool, especially for our own swimmers. And when someone's swimming extra poorly, I bring the whole team out and I let that person swim. I said, do not do this. Right? That's how I put them on the spot. That's how I get my improvement, by ridiculing. So, all right. So in the workout of the episode today, we're going to have some tempo trainer focus. So stick around for that.
Yep.
What else?
Well, the buoy, the weighted buoy. So when we do this, we're working on building power. Obviously, there's an extra weight, so there's additional load. But technically, one of the things you need to do, because unless you fix proper tautness and whole good body posture, that buoy's just going to sink you. You're going to your toes are going to drag at the bottom of the pool. You're going to get a pedicure. So you got to make sure that you're able to sustain your proper posture. So what we did was we put the snorkel on, loaded up the buoy with one chamber filled only, right, and then had our athletes hang onto the wall, one hand holding the wall, the other hand propped against it, and then you're elongated. So you're stretched out, so your arms are straight, one on the wall, one propped against, straight arms, body's behind you, elongated, face down. So you're laying on the surface of the water, right? And you're just using the wall to slightly stabilize you, give you something to barely hold on to. You're not using it as a prop to hold you up, which is the key thing. Head down, and I had our athletes close their eyes. And then your legs start sinking. So now they have to talk to the muscles, the appropriate muscles, to hold their heels up to the surface. So you got to talk to your hamstrings, you got to talk to your core, you got to talk to your hip flexors, you got to talk to your lower back, right? To be able to, what muscles and at what tension do I need to apply to engage these muscles to be able to hold my heels at the surface?
Yeah.
Because you have this one chamber filled, so it's going to start sinking you. And people sink in two ways. For you guys that are watching this, here's my hand. They're going to sink if this were the hip joint right here, and I'm pointing to my, if you have your palm out straight from your finger down to your palm, right where your fingers end before your palm starts, that's where your hip is. They start breaking at the hip.
Right, the hinge at the hip.
The hinge, that's a good word. So there's a hinge or almost a pike, right? So you see that, or you'll see the flat body and the whole thing just starts,
pedicure.
They stay straight, but it just starts sinking lower and lower and lower.
Right, back half sinks,
The
right.
back half sinks and gets really deep. So we have to teach them what muscles to engage in and what tension to use those muscles. So we did that, and then we went into some swimming with the one chamber filled.
Yeah.
And those were slightly longer distances. And then we filled both chambers. And then we redid that drill again. We have to, because now you're weighted quite a bit. So
Yeah.
you have to engage further. But one of the things with a double chamber, when that buoy is doubly filled, both chambers, it will punctuate if you have dead spots in your stroke. Meaning,
Well, that's for sure.
if you have canyons where there's a great depreciation of velocity, and they're instruments that measure your velocity when you're swimming, but a coach with a well-trained eye can see that. But if you have that in your swim stroke and you put that double chamber buoy on, you sink really quickly. Such as folks who have what we call, and this was a methodology that was taught a long time ago called the front quadrant swimming, okay? So if you have this sort of front quadrant catch-up stroke style swimming where one arm is out front and the other one's almost catching up to it, so both hands are almost touching each other at the front. So if this arm, and I have one arm, my left arm's out straight, the right arm's coming over in the air, and it's almost getting ready to enter the water, but at that moment in time, Jim, what is giving me propulsion?
Maybe a little kick, nothing really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe a kick on how good is the kick of a triathlete?
Not
very good.
No.
So there's no propulsion or very little propulsion at that moment. So that's called a dead spot.
Yep.
If you have that type of stroke and you're wearing that buoy filled up, well, you are 3 feet beneath the surface pretty darn quickly. So the thing is to maintain perpetual motion, continuous movement of the arms, no dead spots. So we need higher cadences, right?
Yep.
And then you got to be able to engage the right muscles to hold those heels to
And
the
I think
surface.
that engaging the muscles, that subconscious engaging not subconscious, but the engaging the muscles is something a lot of adult onset swimmers forget that we need. It's not just the arms turning over to get you from one side of the pool. It's how you hold your body moving through that water.
Well, we talked about that with the marathon when I was in Tokyo, right?
Well, yeah, and I was going to relate that to...
It's the whole posture.
I mean, I saw at the last few miles, one thing I've been working on with John Mulcahy is his posture, because he tends to lean back, right? And especially when he gets tired. He's in the last few miles of the Boston Marathon. I saw a video, and he's leaning back again. So it's the same thing for biking and running. Like, you need to know which muscles to engage, which muscles not to engage, how to hold yourself. But for us that have taken on this sport as adults, we think, oh, it's just moving my arms to move myself from this side to the other. By using that weighted buoy, you really feel what you need to be engaging, one length after another length after another length, and you have to ingrain that engagement into your execution. And you take one stroke off, you take one length off, it's really easy to go back down the path of the way you were swimming or the way you were running, the way you were riding. But you can't. That's what the nice thing about the wall is. You hit the wall and you can re-up on that engagement. You can reset and do it again. So then eventually, after 6 years of swimming, it's ingrained in the process, and that's just what you do.
It does take a long time to make improvements in swimming.
Yeah.
The reality of talking to Gina this morning was, it's going to take a year.
Yeah.
2 years. 1 to 2 years.
That's right.
It doesn't happen.
There's no shortcuts. There's
Yeah.
no magic pills. There's no 2-day seminar you can go to. Sure, you can get tips here and there. You can listen to the noise, but it takes perseverance, it takes consistency, it takes mindfulness every single stroke.
Brad Austin, you remember Brad?
Oh, I know Brad, yeah.
Yeah, the only guy that I've ever coached that went from about a 140 Ironman to 55 minutes, 56 minutes in 1 year.
Yeah.
He asked me, I want to break an hour. How long will that take? I said, it'll take you, I told him, I think you're capable of getting to an hour. It'll take you a couple of years.
Yeah.
And he went 56 minutes the next year. Prove me wrong.
Well, that a lot. Some athletes are like that. Like, oh, he says that. Screw him. I'm gonna bury
But that's
it in his face.
a massive, improvement.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about the tempo training, the workout of the episode. But one thing I want to touch on, and we can work this in as a segment maybe into future shows. But you've coached so many pros over the years, so many professional triathletes who've been amazing cyclists. They've been amazing runners, but they're swimming maybe their third, fourth pack back.
Yeah.
And they come to you, and it's not a one-size-fits-all.
I wish the front pack athletes came to me, make my job easier.
Well, that would be. But that's how you build your reputation, right? They say I'm lagging back in the swim a little bit. If I can get out a little closer to the front pack or in the front pack, I can be right up there on the bike and then close strong on the run and win these races. And you've turned around the careers of a lot of these triathletes by turning them the first or second pack swimmers, and each one has a different approach. And I know you know each one intimately. You've worked with, hundreds of pros over the years. So if we were just to pick a couple pros per episode, maybe you could tell us, okay, let's talk about Heather Jackson. Heather Jackson's won Ironmans all over the world. She's been top 5 in Kona. She came to us years ago. You look at someone like Heather Jackson, she gets in the pool the first time. What are you saying? Okay, we got to start from scratch? Or how do you approach someone like Heather, who came in, amazing cyclist, amazing runner? She was swimming in my lane when we first started, and then all of a sudden she jumped up to be probably first, lead the second pack in Ironmans. What do you look at someone like that and say, okay, we need to work on this with Heather?
So it's very individual, obviously, and so the first thing you do is you sort of quickly do a general assessment, right? And let's go through our buckets: tautness, alignment, propulsion. Where I give them quick mental scores, and where are their major weaknesses, and what's the low-hanging fruit that I can help that athlete make some quick gains. And in Heather's case, this was the beginning of her career. I remember she was around a 35-ish minute half Ironman swimmer, and I think we took her down in pretty short order, under 30 minutes.
Yeah, she made some quick gains there.
Yeah.
With that.
So in Heather's case, Heather is not a tall athlete. She's not a short athlete, but she's on the shorter side, right?
Yeah.
But Heather has a, similar to Lucy Charles, she has a punchy, high cadence stroke. That's a good thing, because it helped her stay corky, meaning at the surface. Mm-hmm. So she had some good things. So it's like, okay, I don't want to unvarnish that. Let's keep that in place, and then let's see where is the efficiency being lost. So for her, it was a matter of trying to find efficiency losses, fill those holes. And for Heather, and since you brought an interesting one to start with, for Heather in particular, Heather didn't have, which is the case with many athletes when they're starting off, she didn't have any open water experience or racing swimming experience. And as you know, Jim, I've never played professional hockey. I've never even played hockey, ice hockey. But
an islander never skated?
Could you believe?
Yeah.
Well, isn't there didn't the Jamaican have a bobsled team or something?
Bobsled.
Anyway.
John Candy movie.
So I've never been, played ice hockey, and you played at the professional level. But I'm sure if somebody never played and they showed up in a game, the crap would just be beat out of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
They would just, you just get run over. So if you are not familiar with what happens in the start of a swim, especially back then, those days, they didn't have the rolling start. It was every big mass start, right? For the pros, it could be 40, 50, 60 people, and sometimes it could just be one mass start of several hundred back when. So you have to have adaptation to that. So in Heather's case, there was a lot of teaching of racing skills, a lot of teaching of awareness, positioning, what to do. So there's that whole the chessboard of racing tactics and skills and placement and awareness and all these elements, which is fun to teach.
Applying all the work she was doing in the pool to real world environment. So you're saying you worked on efficiency with her, you worked on getting a little more water with a good turnover, pulling a little more water like we spoke about on the tempo trainer segment, and then getting a little more race experience through our open water swims. We actually were putting buoys in the pool when she was in there. We had a tight 3-lane pool. We had 10 guys in there, 10 men and women, and we do buoy turns, drafting in that 25-yard 3-lane pool.
And she had, and we did that, and that was good for her. But she had a natural sense of, she would be sort of a natural. Did she play hockey?
Played
do you know?
ice hockey. Yeah,
she
played
did.
Ice hockey in college, New Hampshire.
Interesting.
Yeah.
She had like a natural sense of how to check and not be checked.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to give her homework assignments. Every race, she had to write out what occurred during the race, during the swim segment, what happened and how she responded to it.
Yep.
And that was her homework assignment. And then so for the next race, we started building a sort of a library of things that happened and how to overcome them or how not to have them happen again. Why let's take running, which is my favorite sport, and 1,500 meters or the mile is my favorite event, okay? Why is it pretty much the same guys always win or the same girls always win? Top 2 or 3 positions.
I would say they got the chess match figured out.
They got the chess match.
Everybody can run similar paces. It's who can execute those tactics the best.
Exactly.
Yep.
So there's a lot of tactical, skills, a repertoire of skills that have to be acquired when you're not the fastest. So the Heather Jacksons of the world, since you brought her name up, have to acquire a whole lot more skills relative to the elite swimmer.
Yeah.
The elite swimmer doesn't really need it. He or she's at the front of the pack. They're just good swimmers. But the others, if you want to close that gap, you've now got to hone in on other skills to make up time. Because you may not be able to make up 20 seconds per 100 in the swim, but maybe you can make up 10 seconds in improved mechanics, but you can make up another 4 or 5 seconds per 100, 3 seconds per 100 in tactics.
Yeah. Well, and that's
With
why you've created the plan that we have, ingraining or integrating all of the race tactics into our swim workouts in the pool: the sighting, the drafting, the close quarter swimming, the deck ups, the running, all those things that we ingrain in or integrate into our workouts. Those are the stuff that come out on race day. And if you have a head up because you're so comfortable with all these other things, you can be a couple seconds slower per 100, but you make up for it in those little things that add up. One after another, make up for that. 3 to 5 seconds.
And I learned this in my racing career because, as you know, I'm just an okay pool swimmer, but was able to race open water with the who's who.
Yeah.
And who were much faster in the pool over 100 meters, or needless to say, 1,500 meters. But it was about tactics, placement, body checking.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Being comfortable. I've
whatever
never
it
had
is.
more bloody noses coming out of the pool than those swims at Tri-Fit. 3 lanes, 25 yards. We put 2 buoys in, and we just swim around those buoys, like 8 to 10 of us at a time. And it was full contact. You realize, you know what? It's just a bump on the nose. You keep going.
And it's never that bad in a race, but the point is, if you take training sessions above the level of threshold that occurs at event day, well, event day is going to be a walk in the park, right?
That's right. So that's something I'd like to integrate in every episode. Maybe we bring up an athlete or two, and we talk about how you approached that specific athlete. I mean, I have a list, pages long here of different pros. So
got it.
Let's move on into our workout of the episode. But before we get into the workout of the episode, I want to talk about our guy that we brought up on our 2 p.m. call last week. He swims for you up in Santa Barbara. He did Oceanside. We'll leave his name out of it. But he's an older athlete, 70 to 74 age group. He's raced tons of races over the years. He has a huge foundation of strength, fitness. He's raced. But he had a horrible fall off in the run, right? He just went from huge effort, had big expectations. As the run went, he dwindled down, and all of a sudden he was pretty much walking to the finish line. And we said, he had all the fitness, he had the strength, he did the work. What does it come down to? It comes down to nutrition,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
We peeled the onion with him, and we spoke about what he did with nutrition. and he didn't have a clue in the world as to what to do with nutrition.
Correct.
So one thing we stress with all of our athletes, go to precisionhydration.com, fill out their planner, so you at least have an idea of what you should be taking in. Every hour that you're on the bike, you should be taking this many milligrams of electrolytes, this many milligrams of carbohydrates, how you should be getting in, what the vehicle you should be using. And they lay it all out there. So you look at an athlete like this, how has he not had this direction? Obviously, he hasn't been listening to the podcast, so that's the first thing we got to deal with.
He has not.
We
correct.
speak about this on every podcast. But in the show notes, we have the Precision Hydration Nutrition Planner. The link is in there. Click on that. Click on, even if your race isn't on the planner, pick a race that's close to the race that you're doing, or pick any race just so you have an idea of what you should be getting in carbohydrate-wise and electrolyte-wise throughout these races that you're completing, because we do all the training. We don't want it to go for naught because you screwed up your nutrition. So let's dial that in, figure it out. And they have a bunch of nutrition consultants there. You can get on a call, 20, 30 minutes with one of them, pick their brain. They'll lay out what you should be doing if you want to do that. So go to precisionhydration.com. And if you don't want to go out, fill out the planner, Jerry, just put in whatever you want in the cart. TW 2025.
I was just going to ask you, because
T is in Thomas, W is in World 2025. That'll give you 15% off.
Well, I was going to say thank you for that code, because I asked you for it. You gave it to me, and I ordered my the packet.
Yeah.
I forget
you
the
got
exact
your
name
carbs
of
and
it.
electrolytes, and you got them coming, and they're going to help improve your swim. So go there. We don't want all this training, all this knowledge, all this education we give you. It'll all go down the tube if you don't have the nutrition in place. So go to precisionhydration.com.
What I'd like to do, Jim, and I know you have started this because we talked about it last week, for our athletes, and then we would share this on the podcast, is I would like a collaboration with Precision Hydration, and for us to come up with suggestions to give our athletes of during our swim workouts. What should they be taking in, and how much?
I was just talking to Sam and then Andy over at Precision yesterday about this. So we're gonna get a protocol for our athletes. Swim. This is just bird's eye view of what you should be doing, right? You should be taking this in your swim, this in your bike, this in your run. So at least we have a protocol and practice as to what we should be doing. And then on game day, we have more honed in based on what you specifically need.
Because you have to build this into your training sessions. Otherwise, if you just go to race day and you start name any product, but you haven't been practicing it, you run the risk of lack of success, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many different things that could happen with the wrong nutrition or not enough nutrition. So precisionhydration.com, get that filled out, figure it out, and start practicing with it now. So we'll go to our workout of the episode, coaching.tower26.com. Like we said, we're going to nail one of our sharpening phase workouts here. Jared, what do we got?
I got to tell you, I forgot to tell you this. I got an email this week. I think somebody is listening to our podcast.
We've got one person? Two people. My mom listens, and then we got somebody else.
One more listened.
Okay, we got two.
You remember about a month ago, I think around a month ago, I did a plea. I looked right into the camera, and I did a plea to USA Triathlon to get on it, because British Triathlon and French Triathlon is already scouting the Olympic course for 2028. Here are two foreign countries.
Yep.
All right. Scouting the 2028 course because it's in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
I got an email. I got a contact 2 days ago from USA Triathlon.
Really?
Asking engagement. And I was so happy to get that email.
This is exciting.
I mean, I was so happy to get that email. It's like, you know what? This is good, because I don't want our athletes to be embarrassed by other countries on our own home turf.
Well, it's our own home. They just announced that Venice, where we swim every Wednesday, is the course. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So are we going to open up our workouts to other countries, or are we just going to say, okay, only Team USA athletes can come in? I don't know. How committed are we? How patriotic are we, Jerry? So that's interesting. I like that. I like to hear that. I bet you they didn't reach out to TriDot or Swim Smooth. They reached out to us. So that kind of redeems everything from the episode that we said earlier. All right, that workout of the episode, we'll blow through this one. We'll talk about it, the Tempo Trainer. Here it is. We got it up on screen. Go to coaching.tower26.com for the workout of the episode. And we do utilize the Tempo Trainer, so you can go to theswimmall.com. You can get your Tempo Trainer. You can get your whole Tower 26 kit there. So go to theswimmall.com. They have it all there, and it has a Tower 26 discount as well.
So if you look at this workout, guys, on screen, you'll notice at the very top of it, there's a blue line that runs across the top with an arrow to the left. And then on the far side, far right side of it, there's a sound icon. And right next to that, it says 11 minutes and 13 seconds. Every workout, almost every workout except our C sessions, our recovery sessions, have audio files. And this is a longer audio file. Our audio files are typically 3 to 5 minutes long, may go 6 at the longest. But this one's 11 minutes because, Jim, as we know, we started this new phase. I wanted to talk on the episode. So you have an audio that describes to you what the workout's about and what we're trying to achieve. So make sure you listen to those. I think it's super, super helpful. Now, this particular workout is the beginning of our phase, and we talked about this earlier on. We did some pulling after warm-up segments. We did some pulling, and then you'll notice right here, and this is for level 1. Remember, there's levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is for our more elite athletes. They had 3 5-minute pulls, approximately 5 minutes, and you'll notice the buoy is empty. Right there, empty buoy, right?
Yep.
And that's how we did for number 1. But numbers 2 and 3, second and third one, we filled one chamber of the buoy. And we did that drill to make sure athletes were aware that they're going to keep their heels at the surface, heels at the surface, butt at the surface, hips at the surface on reps 2 and 3. And then we went into a handful of 50s after that. Now remember, look at the distance needs to shorten up because we've had now both
chambers. Woo! All right.
Both chambers are filled,
the
right?
cinder block between the legs.
Yep. So we have to reduce the distance because we want success, and we also want some recovery time because this is fatiguing at higher cadence. Took about 20 seconds rest in these. And then we did the setup of the tempo trainer. And again, short distances, 50s, 80% effort like I talked about, and you set your tempo trainer at a predetermined rate, example, 60 strokes a minute, and then you swim at your 80%, and then you bring the tempo trainer to match your cadence. And then we used that cadence in the example earlier, let's say it was 63. If your cadence is 63, and then you just kept it set at 63 for the main set that we went into, a handful of 100s, and the 100s, again, varied from 12 100s for our level 1 all the way down to 7 100s for our level 4, 10 to 15 seconds rest, with that 63 setting, trying to hit that consistent cadence throughout. And then this was, we never got around to this today, Jim, this last part of the workout, but because...
I'm sure a lot of complaints.
I'm sure
why
exactly.
you didn't get around when you didn't get around this one.
Yep, and notice here it says, for those who only have an hour, you skip this for the 60-minute version of workouts. But if we had more time, which we didn't this morning, did a little bit of vertical kicking, because we're also, remember, this is the sharpening phase. We're getting athletes ready to swim fast. So we did some vertical kicking, which is all about proper posture. We did it at a high kick rate for a very short period of time. You'll notice it's only 10 seconds of vertical kick at a very high output. And then we went immediately, push off the wall immediately into 25 fast, take about 30 seconds rest, and then we did 6 reps. In the audio file I talked about, it's not necessary. The rest up is unimportant. If we need 45 seconds rest or even a minute rest, you take the minute rest. It's the amount is not, we don't want to shorten the rest in something like this.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah.
Like
so a number of components in this particular workout.
And that's the thing. We want to make sure that we're taking all those components that we're working on, the weighted buoy, the tempo trainer, the vertical kicking, and we're applying everything that we're focusing on in that focused work to our real world swimming. When we take all that stuff off, we want to integrate all that into our stroke. So it takes mindfulness. Every single stroke, you got to be mindful and thoughtful as to how you're executing.
So could we wrap up? I mean, I don't know if you have anything else.
Let's wrap up.
Could we wrap up with just a little review of?
We got a review. Yeah, we got to remember, go to Gerry, Gerry at tower26.com. Send your videos to Gerry so we can break it down. But let's bring one up here, Gerry.
Yeah, let's bring up. Where did I have?
So we're doing video analysis on John. We did it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
last session.
And I want to show John again. So here's John. Right, and he's coming into the wall here. Did we have him pushing up? Yeah. So, and there was a lot of things that we talked about with John. The body is squiggly. There's a lot of turning, a lot of over rotation. I mean, there's a lot to work on, right? So let's take him just for a moment in slow motion.
So this is the last video. Which video is this? Is this one you? When did you take this video?
I took this a couple of weeks ago, and we showed this.
We showed this. I'm just clarifying it. We showed this on the last episode.
Yep.
So John is coming at us. If you guys watched it on YouTube, same video that we showed last time. just refresh, just
Yeah.
going over it again.
I'm just doing a little highlight so we can sort of see what John was 2 or 3 weeks ago. A lot of twisting, a lot of over rotation. We talked about this portion right here where his hand under the water is so far, just quick little memory here, his hand is so far across, right?
Right.
The other
Big
hand's almost in
crossover
line.
under the body. You know, we
Yep.
always want the hands under the shoulders. He's pretty much facing the other direction with his hand, with his left hand.
A lot of body twisting. So we went over all the details that John, needed to start working on. So what we've done, Jim, in those 2 weeks is, and you and I talked about this.
A lot of yelling.
A lot of yelling. So we put some pulling gear on John, and here's John swimming, Jim, this morning.
There he goes. Total alignment, legs together, toes pointed.
Taking out Miss J behind him there.
Yeah, taking out Jacqueline. There you go, head to head. Arms, hands under shoulders, right?
Yeah, so this is how pulling equipment with a snorkel, an ankle strap, and buoy. Look at this nice alignment, straight line that he has here, right? Remember, prior to this, he was quite squiggly, right?
Right.
So that has, and that's what the pull buoy and the ankle strap and the snorkel helps. Get into the wall, do a quick little push off here.
So that's what we say. That's what TriDot would call spine straight, right?
Yeah,
There you go.
it's a good term that they've used. So, and from behind, you could see it here again. It's
Good alignment.
It's well
no
done.
Squiggly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hands are under the shoulders. He's not crossing over the center line with those hands as he enters or pulls through. He's cleaning it up. Yeah.
good posture, right?
Good posture. Yes.
Good posture. Okay, so I just wanted to show
Guy's cleaning up his act. It's about time, John.
one of the ways. Let's see. And here he was at a little faster rate. Head on into the camera.
Same thing.
So,
He's keeping
yeah.
it all together.
So a lot to work. He's got some propulsion issues to work on beneath the surface. The elbow is still too straight and so on, but we have to start somewhere, and so we're in the process of
There you go.
cleaning up.
So John's cleaning up, but it takes reminding him every single length that what he needs to work on, right? We can't just, all right, we're back. We can't just say, okay, go do this, and then expect him for an hour to do it. That's why we're on deck coaching. Okay, do it again, do it again, do it again. Keep reiterating those focus points that he has to focus on. And, it's really easy to say, here's a whiteboard, go do the set, but actually coach and keep on top of these athletes as to what they should be doing. That's why you have people on deck telling you, yelling at you, as I like to say. So,
Perfect.
What are we going to talk about next episode, Jay? Do we know?
I don't have anything planned at the moment.
Well, we're going to talk about the pros, more pros that you've coached. We're going to bring up our video analysis, GERRY at tower26.com. Keep sending those videos in.
And remember, you guys, when you send those videos in, it just no more than 10 seconds per video. So you can send 2 or 3 in a video, an ideal world. Swimming into the camera, and the camera's placed 6 inches beneath the surface. So you swim into the camera, 10 seconds max. Somebody standing on the pool deck at their eye level, and you're swimming again towards them, half the distance of the pool towards the wall. So that's again less than 10 seconds. And those 2 alone would be super helpful.
Right. So if you're listening to this audio, go to Tower 26 YouTube channel if you want to watch those videos that we break down. But this is fun, Gerry. It's always fun. Love doing these live. Anything else from you?
Appreciate you as always, Jim. I mean, I've started watching a TV series, which I'm like the last person to watch this. Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. There you go. Yeah.
And I love the show. We need more Ted Lassos in the world. We just need more.
Yeah, we do. It's a feel good.
It's a feel good, sweet, so it's more kindness in the world.
There you go. I'd like to hear it. All right. Well, that being said,
that's what made me think of it. It made me think of it because you got the little bravado and you talk about beating people up, but there's this very sweet,
it's all fun,
kind side to you that I think of you often during Ted Lasso.
Well, thank you. We got to remember we do this as an outlet from all the other BS that we have going on in our life. So as much as I like to have fun on deck and ridicule people, it's all in good nature.
It is, yeah.
That being said, I'm gonna go to the pool deck right now and start yelling. So good. But hey, fun times, Gerry. So for Gerry Rodriguez, Jim Binsky, the Tower 26 Be Race Ready podcast. Thanks, guys.